Personally speaking, somebody gives me a Mini Cooper and a big twisty mountain road in front of me, there's no holding me back. I'm going to do what I got to do to have some fun. That's what driving is to me. Anybody who owns a classic Mini has to be an enthusiast to begin with. Sometimes it's to go get a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning. To other people, it's to take it out to a racetrack and flog the wheels off it for a weekend. But it's no longer just a car to get from A to B as it started off its life as. My name is Reid. I own Heritage Garage in Costa Mesa, California. We are a Mini Cooper specialist. I really had no idea at the time that it was ever going to grow into what it is today. I had intended to semi-retire, build a couple of race cars. That didn't last very long before I had Minis stacked up outside the shop. The Mini was introduced in 1959. The designer, Alec Isagonis, his goal was to build a people's car. Keep in mind, started off life as 850 cc's, 30 horsepower on a good day, on 10-inch wheels that were 4.5-inch wide tires. We have bigger wheels on wheelbarrows in this country. There were members of the royal family that had Minis. I mean, the Beatles had Minis. This was the pop culture of the 60s. It was the rock and roll era. The Mini just happened to fit. I have a 1965 Australian-built Cooper S that has a little bit of rally history from Australia. I bought the car from a customer with a bad engine, thinking I was just going to go ahead, put an engine in it, and move the car on to someone else. Sometimes, a good pair of shoes just happened to fit right. It happened to be a combination I liked. I liked the layout of the car. It feels like a race car. It's got a roll cage in it. It's got bucket seats that give me some level of comfort. A Mini is never known for its creature comforts in the first place, so we have a special suspension setup that we use with coil springs rather than the original hard rubber balls. So there's things we've done that are subtle, but yet adapt the car to the type of driving and the use that I give it today. It's not pristine. I don't have to worry about a rock chip or a stone chip. I can drive the car in a spirited fashion, and it's just a fun car that I wouldn't call disposable, but in your mind when you drive quick or you drive fast, the cars have to be something that you use as a tool and not be afraid to drive. How often do I race? It's a very interesting question that many people ask me. My answer is probably as often as my wife will let me and as often as my wallet will allow me. I remember my very first race in 1992, how nervous I was about getting on the track for the first time. And I remember that transition over time to becoming more and more confident. Within a month or so after that, I went and took an autocross course with my Mini. And the instructor got in my car as the driver. As he hurtled towards the first 90-degree corner, I grabbed the edge of the seat because I figured there's no way we're going around this corner the way he's driving my car. We're going to go on a roof. He went around the corner, no problem. I took that back to the road race and was knocking tens of seconds off my track time because he showed me the capability of this car that I'd owned. I'd owned one since I was a kid. I'd never driven it the way he showed me how to drive it. When you build up that level of confidence of knowing what the car's capable of doing, driving a car at 9/10 usually scares everybody else who's sitting beside you because they have no idea that this little 5x10 shoebox can do what it can do. I personally like front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive tends to go where you point it. It's a small car, it's a very forgiving car when it comes to maneuverability. It'll do what I want it to do, and it will forgive me a little bit when I make a mistake. In 2012, I was given the opportunity to be part of a team that ran a Mini in the Carrera Panamericana in Mexico. And at that point, that was probably a life-changing experience when it came to an extension of road racing. What the Pan Am exposed me to was, miles and miles of open roads that you'd never seen before. You're driving on roads with 1,000 feet drop-offs on the cliffs, trusting a navigator beside you, reading a book that's telling you what the next corner is. It's a complete different concept from road racing or track racing, whereas on a track race, once you've been around the track a few times, you've memorized the track and you start to fine-tune what you do on each corner. Somebody told me one time that track racing is doing the same corner 1,000 times. Doing the Pan Am is doing 1,000 corners once. You spend a lot more time driving than you'll ever do sitting on a race car at a racetrack. I really don't think the majority of people have any concept of how beautiful the heart of Mexico truly is. Beautiful architecture, massive cathedrals, and you have a hard time imagining this is the Mexico that we have envisioned all these years. I love going to Mexico because the Mexican people have a passion for classic cars, soccer, and pretty women, all three of which I wholeheartedly agree with. The group of people that I've managed to, I'll say, break into, they're just enthusiasts who don't have the car gathering cobweb. They take their cars out on a regular basis, they drive their cars on a regular basis. There are people with significant car collections that don't just sit around. I also love the fact that the age group, we had drivers in this most recent rally, anything from teenagers driving with their grandfather or their uncle, all the way up to, I think the oldest gentleman was 84 years old, still driving, still rallying, with his equal age wife sitting next to him as his navigator. I think it's fantastic to see people still with that level of enthusiasm and still enjoying life and being part of what we do, and with cars, so it's a great combination. I think anything that anybody does that requires a level of stress, a level that brings out adrenaline, when you're done and it's over, there is still a euphoric high. At my age, I'm glad to have finished it alive. When it's an event where it's a bunch of friends and camaraderie, you're sorry to see it end because it's such a phenomenally exciting time, seeing new things together, sharing new things together, and the brotherhood of being with a group of people who are like-minded is just something you reluctantly walk away from. I will probably continue to work on minis as long as I can. I'm lucky that what I do for work is something I happen to love, and everything else I've done in life seems to have been a tangent of that.